You can walk into a room and win or lose before you ever say a word. That is how fast the world judges you. In those first 10 seconds, your posture, your eyes, your energy speak louder than your voice. People decide whether you are worthy of respect or forgettable noise. And here is the truth. Most people walk into rooms already defeated. Their shoulders sag, their eyes wander. Their words stumble. They live as shadows in spaces they were meant to command. But presence can be built. Confidence can be trained. You do not need to be born with it. You shape it in the furnace of daily choices. Stoicism reminds us that the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Every look, every step, every pause dyes the soul a little darker with doubt or a little brighter with strength. Think about the details. The way you stand tells people if you respect yourself. The way you breathe tells them if you are calm or restless. The way you hold your eyes tells them if you are hiding or if you belong exactly where you are. None of this is trivial. All of this is your reputation written in real time. Too many people wait for confidence as if it were a gift. They pray for courage to arrive one morning like sunlight breaking through clouds. But courage does not arrive by chance. It is carved into you by repetition. It is built every time you resist the urge to collapse into hesitation. Eye contact is one of the simplest, yet most powerful acts of presence. When you meet another person's eyes with calm steadiness, you declare silently, "I respect myself enough to be seen." When you look away too quickly, you whisper to the world, "I would rather hide." That is why holding the gaze matters. It is not about staring with force. It is about staying long enough to show you are unafraid of being seen. Seneca wrote, "We are more often frightened than hurt, and we suffer more in imagination than in reality." The nerves that burn in your chest when you hold someone's gaze are not signs of weakness. They are the signals of growth. They tell you that you are stepping into the place where change is born. Think of the last time someone looked you directly in the eye as you spoke. Did you not feel as if your words suddenly mattered more, that their attention wrapped around you with rare gravity? Now think of the opposite. Someone who shifted their eyes constantly, who looked over your shoulder, who seemed eager to escape. You felt ignored, unseen, perhaps even disrespected. The difference was not in the words. The difference was in the presence. Presence is a muscle. You train it by leaning into discomfort. At first, your heartbeat may quicken, your mind may scream to look away, but every repetition strengthens you. Hold for a few seconds longer today, a few seconds more tomorrow. Over time, the act that once felt unbearable becomes natural. Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Mastery is not avoiding what unsettles you. Mastery is moving through it until it no longer controls you. Eye contact teaches mastery because it teaches you to remain where your body once wanted to flee. This practice spills into every corner of life. At work, you stop shrinking in meetings. In relationships, you stop hiding your thoughts. In public, you walk as if you belong. And you do. Because you proved it to yourself in 1,000 small moments of presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." By training yourself to think, "I can hold my ground, I can be here fully without escape," you begin to dye your inner world with steadiness. And steadiness is magnetic. People are drawn to those who make them feel seen. It is not the loudest who earn the deepest respect. It is the most present. Presence is not about dominating. It is about connecting. A steady gaze softened with warmth communicates respect as much as it communicates strength. Confidence without humility is arrogance. Humility without confidence is weakness. The balance of both is what makes presence unforgettable. Every small victory of presence becomes a stone in the foundation of confidence. One gaze, one steady breath, one calm posture. They seem small, but together they form the bedrock of self-trust. And self-trust is where true confidence lives. So the next time you stand before another human being, remember, your eyes are not just windows, they are declarations. Declare that you belong. Declare that you are not afraid of being seen. Declare that you respect yourself enough to stand firm. Presence is power. And it begins in silence, long before your words arrive. Words carry weight only when the voice that delivers them is steady. You can say the smartest sentence in the world, but if your tone is scattered, nervous, rushed, no one will believe it. People rarely remember your phrasing. They remember the feeling your tone left behind. Tone is not decoration. Tone is character made audible. A rushed, high-pitched, uneven voice signals restlessness. A slow, calm, grounded tone signals control. That is why leaders who remain steady under pressure are remembered long after the loudest voices fade. The voice follows the breath, and the breath follows the mind. When your mind is anxious, your breath becomes shallow, your words tumble out, and your authority collapses. But when you steady your breathing, your voice deepens, your pace slows, and suddenly people cannot help but listen. This is why singers and great speakers practice breathing. It is not performance, it is power. Before you speak, take a single deliberate breath. That act alone separates you from the restless crowd. Volume matters too. Too soft and you sound unsure. Too loud and you sound desperate. Authority is found in balance. A voice clear enough to be heard, firm enough to carry weight, calm enough to invite trust. Pace is your ally. The nervous speak too quickly, as if silence were an enemy. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is presence. When you pause, you allow your words to breathe. You let the listener catch them, hold them, and remember them. The pause makes your words heavy, unforgettable. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The silence is the element in which great things fashion themselves together. Let silence be your ally." In moments of tension, tone is tested. Anger sharpens the pitch. Fear speeds the pace. Excitement scatters the flow. But true confidence is revealed not when life is calm, but when storms rise. The one who keeps a steady tone in heat commands more respect than the one who shouts. Think about an argument. People rarely respond to what you say. They respond to how you say it. A sharp, impatient tone invites defense. A calm, deliberate tone invites dialogue. That is why control of tone is one of the highest forms of self-mastery. Seneca wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The same applies here. Adversity in conversation is the test. It is the chance to prove your steadiness. Your tone builds reputation. Over time, people forget your exact words, but they remember whether you are grounded or frantic. That memory becomes your reputation, and reputation is the currency of influence. Discipline your tone daily. Record yourself. Notice your speed, your pitch, your pauses. Refine them. Each repetition strengthens the voice of presence. Each practice teaches your mind to slow down, to choose intention over reaction. Aristotle called virtue the balance between extremes. Too flat, and you sound disinterested. Too erratic, and you sound unstable. Balance is credibility. Carl Jung said, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder, a secret order." Your tone, when mastered, creates that secret order. It turns chaos into clarity. When you discipline your voice, you discipline your soul. Each time you resist the urge to shout, each time you slow your pace instead of rushing, each time you pause instead of panicking, you remind yourself, "I control myself." And that truth is the root of respect. So speak with the voice of someone who has nothing to prove but everything to share. Let your words arrive with rhythm, not haste. Let your tone be the frame of your presence. Because when people hear steadiness, they feel strength. And strength commands respect without ever asking for it. Most people fear silence. They rush to fill every gap with words as if quiet would expose their insecurity. But silence, when owned, is not emptiness. It is presence. A pause before you speak makes your words heavier. A pause after you speak makes them echo longer. Silence is the invisible frame around your sentences. Without it, everything collapses into noise. With it, Every word carries weight. Great leaders, great teachers, great storytellers all know this. Their power is not only in what they say, but in what they do not say. They use silence the way an artist uses shadow. To make the light stand out, to make the colors deeper, to create depth. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the nearer a man comes to a calm mind, the closer he is to strength. To hold silence without panic is to hold calm in the face of fear. It shows that you are not desperate to justify your place in the room. It proves that you belong without needing constant sound. Think of the difference between someone who rambles nervously and someone who pauses deliberately. One feels unsettled, the other feels powerful. People lean forward when silence arrives because they know something important is coming. Anticipation sharpens their attention. Silence also protects you. Many conflicts erupt not because of what was said, but because of how quickly it was said. A pause gives you a chance to align intention with delivery. It allows your reason to catch up with your emotions. Seneca said speech is the index of the mind. Rushed words reveal a restless mind. Measured words reveal a disciplined one. But silence is more than defense. It is creation. In the stillness between words, insight rises. When the noise stops, clarity has room to speak. That is why so many philosophers, monks, and thinkers practiced solitude. Not to escape the world, but to hear it more clearly. Silence unsettles people in a good way. When you do not rush to fill the air, others pay attention. They sense that your words matter because you are not desperate to release them. Silence gives you control of rhythm. It makes you the conductor of the conversation instead of the instrument. In arguments, silence is strength. When accused or challenged, most people react instantly. They defend, they shout, they stumble. But when you pause calmly, you send a different signal. You show you are not rattled. You show that you choose your response. That pause itself becomes an act of authority. Silence is sharpened by posture. A pause delivered with restless fidgeting looks weak. A pause delivered with steady stillness feels powerful. Your body anchors the silence. Shoulders relaxed. Eyes calm. Breath steady. Suddenly the silence feels deliberate, not awkward. Carl Jung wrote, "What feels chaotic can reveal hidden order if you bring awareness." Silence does this. It creates order out of noise. It shows that you respect words enough not to waste them. It shows that you respect the moment enough to give it space. When you master silence, you no longer fear pauses. You learn to sit in them with composure. You learn that you do not need constant approval to exist in the room. And in that discovery, self-respect deepens. Marcus Aurelius told himself, "Be like the rock that waves crash over. It stands unmoved and the sea falls still around it. Silence is that rock." In a noisy world, the one who can stand still in silence radiates strength. So the next time you feel the urge to fill the air with meaningless chatter, resist. Let the pause stretch 1 second longer than feels safe. Notice how people lean in. Notice how your own presence grows heavier. Silence is not weakness. It is one of the most powerful tools you own. It magnifies presence. It amplifies respect. It turns noise into music. And when you master silence, you master yourself. Most people listen only to reply. They wait for their turn, already forming answers in their heads while the other person is still speaking. This is why so many conversations feel shallow and forgettable. But when you ask a thoughtful question, everything changes. The exchange shifts from surface chatter to connection. A good question is not about information. It is about presence. It says, "I noticed you. I care enough to go deeper. I am here with you, not waiting for my turn." Carl Jung once said, "Loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that matter." A thoughtful question creates that communication. It opens the locked doors of another person's inner world. But asking well requires attention. You must listen not only to words, but to pauses, to tone, to the emotions underneath. If someone says they are busy, the shallow response is to nod. The thoughtful response is to ask, what has been taking most of your time? That question shows you noticed. It shows you care enough to go further. People remember those who asked them questions that made them think, that made them feel understood. Long after they forget the details, they remember the experience of being truly heard. And in a world starving for attention, that memory is gold. Trust is built this way. Every good question is a brick in the bridge of trust. When people feel that you value their perspective, they open more, they confide, they begin to rely on you. Trust is fragile, but questions protect it. Disagreement is the test. When someone says something you oppose, do you rush to correct them, or do you ask what makes you feel that way? The second path keeps the door open. It allows dialogue instead of battle. Aristotle said, "The more you know, the more you realize you do not know." Asking questions embodies this humility. It says, I do not assume, I want to learn. And humility builds stronger bonds than pride ever can. In professional life, good questions set you apart. While others nod politely, you ask, what would make this easier? Or how do you see this working? That shift from problem to solution shows initiative and respect. Leaders who ask instead of command build teams that trust them. In personal life, questions deepen love and friendship. Ask your partner, what is something you wanted to share but have not? Ask your friend, what has inspired you lately? These small invitations open doors that otherwise stay locked. But thoughtful questions are not only for others, they are for yourself. Ask, what did I avoid today and why? Ask, what did I learn from this moment? Jung said your visions will become clear only when you look into your own heart. The right questions turn your gaze inward. They sharpen self-awareness. Epictetus taught, it is impossible to learn what you think you already know. Questions break that illusion. They keep you open. They turn every conversation into a lesson. And remember, sometimes the best question is none at all. Not every silence must be filled. Marcus Aurelius wrote, learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference. Knowing when to ask and when to stay quiet is part of wisdom. The power of questions is reciprocity. When you show genuine interest, people mirror it. Conversations become balanced, not one-sided. Over time, this balance becomes respect, trust, connection. So practice the art of questions. Do not ask out of habit. Ask out of care. Do not ask to interrogate. Ask to connect. Because when you ask better questions, you change not only the conversation, you change the relationship. And when enough relationships change, your world changes with them. The world is restless. Every day people move like storms, reacting to small frustrations as if they were great tragedies. A delayed email, a sharp word, a traffic jam. Each one pulls them into panic, impatience, anger. But once in a while, someone enters the same chaos and remains steady. Their voice is calm. Their movements measured. Their presence is unshaken. And in that moment, people notice. Calm energy is magnetic. It commands respect without a single demand. Calm is not passivity. Calm is control. It is the decision not to let the noise outside dictate the state inside. Seneca wrote, he who is brave is free. Calmness is a form of bravery. It frees you from being ruled by reaction. Think about the last time you were surrounded by tension. Maybe an argument at home, a crisis at work, or even just a line of angry strangers in traffic. Some voices grew louder, some movements restless. Yet if one person remained calm, that person became the anchor. Their composure became a lifeline. This is not accident. Calm energy is trained. It is built through daily habits. Slow breathing when others rush. Reflection when others react. Silence when others shout. Calmness is a discipline. It is not something you stumble upon. It is something you decide upon again and again. People trust calm. They trust it in leaders because it shows judgment is not clouded by emotion. They trust it in friends because it shows reliability. They trusted in partners because it shows stability. Calmness reassures the world that you can carry weight without collapsing. But calm is not cold. It is not the absence of feeling. In fact, calm energy communicates warmth more deeply than restless passion ever could, because calmness means presence. It means you are fully here, listening, steady, strong enough not to be consumed by the fire around you. Calm energy shows itself in the body, in slower speech, in measured movements, in breathing that is deep instead of shallow. Behind this simplicity lies great discipline. It takes courage to pause when others rush. It takes strength to breathe when others shout. And here is the hidden power. Calm energy does not only influence others, it transforms you. When you practice calmness, you stop feeling like a victim of chaos. You begin to trust yourself. You know that when the storm rises, you will not collapse into panic. That self-trust becomes confidence more powerful than any praise. In time, calm energy changes the way you live. Arguments shrink or never ignite because your calmness diffuses them. Stressful days feel manageable because you refuse to be ruled by them. Even silence, once feared, becomes a tool. Calm energy strengthens every other part of presence. Epictetus reminded us it is not what happens but how we respond that matters. Calm energy is the highest form of response. It shows that nothing outside controls you. You choose your state, you choose your ground. And that choice is unshakable strength. So when the world speeds up, slow down. When the noise rises, breathe. When the storm rages, stand still. Because calmness is not weakness. Calmness is power. And it is the kind of power no one can take from you. Confidence is not born in a single act of courage. It is not lightning that strikes once and leaves you transformed. Confidence is brickwork. It is the steady laying of small stones, one after another, until the foundation becomes unshakable. Every time you meet someone's eyes, every time you greet first instead of waiting, every time you slow your words instead of rushing, every time you face what you once avoided, you are laying bricks. Alone, each seem small. Together, they build identity. People search for turning points. They want one dramatic act to erase all insecurity. But that is not how growth works. Repetition, not drama, is what shapes character. Seneca said difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. Strength is built in weight lifted again and again, not in a single heroic lift. Repetition feels boring. It lacks the thrill of a bold gesture, but that is why it is powerful. Anyone can be brave once. Few can be disciplined every day. Repetition filters the interested from the committed. At first, you will feel like you are forcing yourself. You will remind yourself to hold your gaze, to slow your tone, to stand still. But with time, what feels forced becomes natural. You stop practicing confidence. You start living it. Think of brushing your teeth. It feels like nothing in the moment, but repeated daily, it prevents decay. Small acts of confidence work the same way. Each one prevents the decay of self-respect. Each one, repeated, builds strength. Carl Jung said you are what you do, not what you say you will do. Repetition proves this. You can say you want confidence, discipline, respect, but only repeated action carves those qualities into you. Repetition also builds resilience. By facing small discomforts daily, you prepare for larger storms. Just as lifting light weights prepares the body for heavy ones, repeated small acts of courage prepare the mind for greater challenges. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, if you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. Each repetition shrinks the estimate. Each repetition shows that the obstacle was never as heavy as you imagined. Consistency becomes reputation. People notice. They see that you do not just speak of growth, but live it. They begin to rely on you because you have proven you can rely on yourself. Self-trust is the deepest form of confidence, and repetition is the way it is earned. But repetition must be mindful. Routine without thought is empty. Ritual with intention is powerful. The difference is awareness. Each repetition is not a chore. It is a declaration. A declaration that says, I am building the person I am becoming. Confidence built on repetition is durable. It does not shatter when criticized. It does not vanish when the crowd disappears. It holds steady because it has been built in private, brick by brick, day by day. So stop waiting for lightning. Stop chasing one dramatic moment of courage. Look instead at the ordinary actions you repeat daily. They are the bricks. They are the foundation. And when laid with discipline, they create a life of quiet, undeniable confidence. Restless movements betray restless thoughts. You have seen it before. Someone pacing across the room, fingers tapping, eyes darting, shoulders shifting. They may speak strong words, but their body whispers weakness. Stillness changes everything. To stand steady, to breathe deeply, to move only with intention, is to declare control without saying a word. Stillness is magnetic. It communicates certainty that others can feel. True control is not proven when life is easy. Anyone can appear composed when the stakes are low. Control is proven in the heat of pressure, in the tense meeting, in the difficult conversation, in the moment when all eyes are fixed on you. If you remain still there, you send the most powerful message of all. I am here, and I am unshaken. Seneca once wrote, "We are always complaining that our days are few, yet we act as if they will never end. Restlessness wastes those days. Stillness reclaims them." When you stand grounded, you show that you will not scatter your energy on nervous habits. You channel it into presence. Think of the greatest leaders you have seen. They did not wave their arms wildly or move without direction. Their gestures were deliberate, their steps purposeful. Each movement carried weight because it was chosen, not scattered. Stillness is not stiffness. It is not freezing the body. It is grounding the body so that every movement amplifies rather than dilutes your message. When you stand tall, shoulders relaxed, feet rooted, and you choose your gestures with care, the body becomes an ally instead of a saboteur. The mind and body are mirrors. Nervous movement fuels nervous thought. Calm posture fuels calm thought. By disciplining the body to remain steady, you send signals of stability to your nervous system. Your pulse slows. Your breath deepens. Your mind follows the body into stillness. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. To remain still in discomfort is to embody that truth. You may not control the storm, but you control your stance in it. Stillness transforms silence. When you pause without fidgeting, the silence gains weight. People lean in, waiting. The pause becomes a statement of authority. Restless silence feels awkward. Steady silence feels deliberate. There is also the mirror effect. People reflect what you project. If you are restless, they grow restless. If you are calm, they calm. Your stillness becomes contagious. Without words, you lead the room back from chaos into composure. Over time, stillness becomes reputation. You are remembered as the one who does not lose control under pressure, the one who anchors the room. That respect cannot be demanded. It is earned through consistency. Socrates said the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Stillness is that victory made visible. Each time you resist the urge to scatter your energy, you prove to yourself that you are in control. So, practice stillness in small moments, in daily conversations, in brief silences. Train your body not to flinch, but to root. Each small victory builds the discipline until stillness becomes natural. And when it does, your presence will carry a gravity that cannot be ignored. Before you open your mouth, before anyone hears your words, your walk has already spoken. Presence begins the moment you step into the room. If you drag your feet, slump your shoulders, or drift without rhythm, you declare hesitation. You make yourself invisible, even while standing in plain sight. But if you walk with upright posture, steady rhythm, and quiet assurance, people notice. They may not know why, but they feel it. Presence has arrived. Carl Jung said you are what you do, not what you say you will do. Your walk is a doing. It is the first impression of your identity. And impressions, once made, are hard to erase. Humans are wired to read body language long before words. Our ancestors judged leaders, threats, and allies through posture and stride. That instinct still governs us today. People may not consciously analyze your walk, but they feel the steadiness or the hesitation in it. Walking with intention is not arrogance. It is alignment. It is matching your outer movement with your inner respect. Head held high, shoulders back, steps measured but not rushed. This rhythm says without words, I belong here. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Too often, people imagine confidence as something you must feel first before you can move with it. The truth is the opposite. Move with confidence, and confidence begins to grow inside you. The body dies the mind as much as the mind dies the body. On days you shuffle, the world feels heavier. On days you stride with intention, the world feels lighter. The act itself shifts your psychology. The more you repeat it, the more it becomes part of your identity. Others mirror this energy. Enter a room distracted, and people will dismiss you. Enter a room with presence, and people will pay attention before you speak. Presence is not about being loud. It is about carrying yourself with intention. Think of the silence that comes before a speaker begins. If their walk is restless, the silence feels weak. If their walk is steady, the silence feels powerful. The same pause, the same room, a different message because of posture. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." Do not argue about confidence. Walk as if you already are confident. That choice shapes reality faster than thought. In daily life, this matters everywhere. At work, in interviews, in first meetings. In personal life, in relationships, in friendships. Each step is a declaration. Each stride sets the tone. You can either drift or arrive. Walking with intention is not about perfection. It is about alignment. Aligning the way you move with the person you want to be. Aligning posture with purpose. Aligning breath with presence. Do this daily, and you will change the way you see yourself. You will no longer ask, "Do I belong here?" You will declare silently, "With each step I do." And when you carry that rhythm long enough, the world begins to see you the same way. There will come a day when someone questions you. It may be subtle, hidden in a raised eyebrow or a doubtful glance, or it may be direct, spoken out loud for everyone to hear. In that moment, you will be tested, not in skill alone, but in spirit. Most people collapse under doubt. They shrink, they play safe, they retreat from their own potential because someone else's voice sounds louder than their own. But Stoicism teaches the opposite. When doubt comes, it is the perfect test of whether you know who you are. Carl Jung said the world will ask you who you are, and if you do not know, the world will tell you. Doubt is that question. It asks, are you steady enough to hold your ground, or will you crumble and let the world define you? Seneca warned that craving constant validation leaves us poor in spirit, and he was right. Those who depend on approval are slaves to opinion. The moment praise disappears, so does their courage. But those who release that craving grow rich in confidence. They move differently. They act with calm persistence until results speak louder than words. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself that everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. Doubt is only perspective, not reality. Someone else's disbelief does not decide your ability. It only reflects their own limitations. Your task is to keep moving until truth makes their doubt irrelevant. Persistence is the weapon. You do not prove yourself by shouting back at critics. You prove yourself by refusing to stop. Step after step, effort after effort, until even the harshest skeptic falls silent. Consistency crushed doubt. But the greatest doubt is often not outside. It is inside. That voice in your head whispering, "You are not ready, you are not enough, you will fail." That inner critic can be louder than 1,000 skeptics. And yet, the answer is the same. Hold your ground. Do not wait for the voice to vanish. Act anyway. Each time you act in the face of doubt, you carve a deeper line of trust in yourself. Self-trust is the foundation of unshakable confidence, and it grows not through comfort, but through resistance. Plato wrote, "The measure of a man is what he does with power." Doubt is a form of power. It has the potential to paralyze you, but if you hold steady, you turn doubt into fuel. You transform it from obstacle into sharpening stone. The world does not need more people who collapse at the first sign of disbelief. It needs anchors. People who can stand calm in the storm of skepticism. People who prove with persistence, not panic. So when the next voice questions you, do not shrink, do not explode. Stand steady. Meet the doubt with quiet persistence, and let your consistency drown out the noise. Because in the end, the loudest proof is not what you say, it is what you build. Confidence is not a costume. It is not something you put on for a moment and remove when no one is watching. Confidence is rhythm. It is the steady drumbeat of small actions, repeated until they form identity. Every time you meet a gaze, instead of looking away, you lay a brick. Every time you speak slowly, instead of rushing, you lay a brick. Every time you greet first, stand still, or face what you once avoided, you lay a brick. Alone, each action seems ordinary. Together, they form a wall strong enough to carry you through any storm. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you will do." Repetition is the difference between desire and identity. You may say you want confidence, but only repeated acts of confidence transform you into a confident person. Most people quit before repetition does its work. They want change to feel dramatic. They want lightning instead of brickwork. But Stoicism whispers the truth. Strength is not built in one grand act. It is built in small, steady choices. Live daily. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. Each repetition is a brushstroke. Each action, repeated, stains the soul with discipline. Slowly, the dye sinks in until identity itself changes. At first, it will feel forced. Meeting eyes will feel unnatural. Speaking slower will feel awkward. Holding still will feel heavy. But repetition turns the forced into the familiar, and the familiar into the effortless. Confidence built this way is not fragile. It does not shatter at criticism. It does not vanish when applause fades. It holds steady because it has been built brick by brick, in private, when no one was watching. Repetition is not glamorous, but it is the only path that lasts. Anyone can act bold once. Few can act disciplined every day. That is why repetition filters the many from the few. Over time, you will notice the shift. You no longer think, "I am trying to be confident." You realize, "I am confident," because the actions have carved it into your identity. Seneca said, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Repetition is the daily friction that polishes you. It shapes you in silence, in small acts, in steady rhythm. So, stop waiting for lightning. Stop waiting for one heroic moment. Lay the bricks, repeat the choices, build the rhythm, and let repetition carry you into the person you were meant to be. Because in the end, confidence is not an event. It is a way of life. Confidence does not arrive like a gift. It is not handed down, nor is it discovered in a single moment of glory. Confidence is built, brick by brick, choice by choice, breath by breath. You have walked through the lessons. Eye contact, Presence, tone, stillness, calm, energy, repetition. Each one, a small step. Each one, a seed of strength planted in the soil of discipline. Alone, they may seem ordinary. Together they forge an identity unshakable by noise, untouched by doubt. The Stoics never promised comfort. They promised growth. They reminded us that fear multiplies in imagination, but shrinks in reality. That self-mastery is the first and greatest victory. That to live with strength is to live with intention, even in the smallest acts. Look back at the steps, holding a gaze until it no longer burns. Greeting first when silence tempted you to hide. Slowing your words so they carried weight. Standing still when every muscle screamed to move. These were not grand moments. They were choices. But choices, repeated, become character. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." And now, through discipline, your soul becomes dyed with the color of confidence. Not the shallow mask that crumbles under pressure, but the kind that roots itself deep. Confidence born of action. Confidence no one can take. Doubt will still come. The critic's voice will still whisper. But you will not collapse. You will not lash out. You will hold steady. Because you have already proven to yourself, through countless small victories, that you can stand your ground, and calmness will mark you. In a world addicted to speed, you will move slower. In a world addicted to noise, you will use silence. In a world addicted to chaos, you will carry calm. That difference is what makes presence unforgettable. Understand this. Respect does not come from force. It comes from alignment. From moving the body with intention. From speaking with rhythm. From dressing with care. From living with consistency. Presence is not performance. It is truth revealed. And when truth is revealed, people cannot help but notice. They lean in. They listen longer. They trust deeper. Not because you demanded it, but because you embodied it. Confidence is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to act while fear is still present. It is greeting the stranger first. It is standing still under pressure. It is repeating the discipline daily until hesitation fades. Carl Jung once said the privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. This is that privilege. To strip away the hesitation, the avoidance, the doubt. To stand in your own presence. Not as an act, but as reality. Seneca reminded us that difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. These disciplines are not meant to be easy. They are meant to sharpen, to polish, to build. Each friction makes you stronger. Each challenge makes you steadier. So the question is, no longer can you be confident. The question is, will you choose it? Will you repeat it? Will you walk into the room with intention? Will you meet the eyes of another without flinching? Will you let silence be your ally instead of your enemy? Confidence is not tomorrow. It is today. It is in the next breath you take, in the next step you walk, in the next choice you make. Do not wait, because waiting is hesitation. And hesitation is how identity dies. Start with one act, small, simple, present. Then repeat. Repeat until the repetition becomes identity. Repeat until identity becomes unshakable. And when people ask what changed you, you will not need to explain. They will see it in your eyes, in your walk, in your voice, in your stillness, in your calm. You will not need to shout, because the presence you carry will already speak louder than words. So step forward. Take the path. Lay the bricks. Build the rhythm. Choose the habits. And live as someone who no longer waits for confidence. Because the truth is simple. Confidence is not given. Confidence is built. And today, right now, you begin.